Hola clase. So for this week, you do have another Google form that I'm going to have you fill out. Hopefully this one will be a little bit easier. There's not as much translation because I realized when you guys were submitting that there was more room for where it could get marked wrong even if you did it correctly or you had the right idea overall but maybe just made a tiny error. So I'm going to try and avoid that for this week and we'll look at that more in the future. Also, on the Google form, if you realize a mistake and you know how to correct it, please feel free to fill out the Google form because the way I have it set up, you should be able to fill it out more than once, so that way I can see that you knew how to fix it, which will just be even better. I also got a question about how this is being graded, how this is being counted, and hopefully by now you guys know that you guys get the option to do GPA, so letter grade, or you could just choose to pass or fail, and so you're wondering how grades are still getting worked out from there. Personally, in my class, I'm still talking with Mr. Kitchen about how that is going to look and what to expect out of that, but so far right now I am keeping track of participation. That is a huge thing. If you are not participating, that is going to get marked and might not help you with your grade, so just watch out for that. And I need a little more clarification personally before I can tell you what that's going to look like for you guys. So sorry about the confusion, but hopefully we can clear that up soon. Alright, so this week on your calendar, you might notice an interesting date that might pop out to you, especially since you're in Spanish class. It might kind of be like, oh, what is happening? Cinco de Mayo. Yes, this is a date as Americans we've all heard about once or twice before, but you might not know the history behind it. So we're going to look at a little bit of the cultural significance of Cinco de Mayo today. I have probably made a mention here or there in the past about Cinco de Mayo, and the crazy idea that I, as a Spanish teacher, am not super excited about this holiday as I am over Dia de los Muertos or La Navidad, some Christmas time. And the week has come where I get to explain why. First, the big reason why is that there's a misconception about it that I want to clarify. I used to believe myself that Cinco de Mayo was pretty much the Mexican equivalent of 4th of July. You know, Independence Day, hooray! Plot twist. Mexico's Independence Day is actually September 16th. We already celebrated it earlier in the school year. So if it's not their Independence Day, what is Cinco de Mayo? Well, for this we actually have a little bit of a history lesson. So we actually have to go back in time to 1862 to a tiny town called Puebla. Over 150 years ago, during this time, the French army was actually invading Mexico. To understand why, we actually have to back up a tiny bit further. Mexico had already gained their independence from Spain, and they were bankrupt, but not just because of the cost of that war, but also because they had been in the Mexican-American War, and they had a Mexican Civil War. So due to the fighting and the high cost of war, they were bankrupt. They had no money in the bank. So, to try and help the economy, the president of the time tried to suspend the payment of debt for 2 years. England, Spain, and France were not overly fond of this idea. They wanted their money. So, even though Mexico was broke, they decided to invade Mexico and get their money by any means necessary. Because, you know, it makes a lot of sense to try and get your money from a place that has no money. Personal opinion. So, Spain and England, I'm sure, kind of came to that conclusion that I personally have because they decided not to invade Mexico. France, on the other hand, decided to go for it anyways. So now, the France army is invading Mexico. Let's go check back in on Puebla. In the town of Puebla, they had 5,000 troops ready to face 8,000 French soldiers. They were outnumbered. The numbers were not on their side, and European armies had a higher reputation for battle. However, even though they were outmanned, they didn't back down. They not only battled, they came out victorious. This was a huge morale boost. Who doesn't love an underdog story after all? Unfortunately, long story short, they won the battle, La Batalla de Puebla, but they did end up losing the war to France. Even though they lost the war, that battle was such a morale boost and such an underdog story that it's still celebrated today. Nowadays, it really is just a regional holiday where it's mostly celebrated, or at least most enthusiastically celebrated, in Puebla and Mexico City. Here in the United States, we do celebrate Cinco de Mayo, but for a different reason. It shifted from celebrating a historical battle and the victory there to a celebration of Mexican culture and heritage. So it's very common that there will be Mexican food, Mexican drinks, Mexican music, and Mexican dance, all of that celebrating Mexican heritage, rather than the historical battle that took place in the town of Puebla. And now you know, Cinco de Mayo does have true historic significance, but it's also taken on a new meaning here in the United States, both of which are really cool. And I think the best way to appreciate Cinco de Mayo is to get a full understanding of what the holiday is about. So that's my quick video for this week. Just kind of a update on that we're doing Google Forms, a little bit of information about Cinco de Mayo, and hopefully that should be all. Once again, you guys know, please feel free to email me. I have been a little slower on answering my emails, still processing some stuff, but I'm definitely working through it, trying to get back to you when I can. I miss you guys. Hope you're doing well. Hasta luego. See you later.